On the back end of the Wellness Discovery Tour, and we found ourselves in Sedona, Arizona. And today's guest is the perfect cap on the Discovery Tour. Why? Well, I'll let you find out in the episode. What I will say is that I was connected to this guest after my wife Melissa had a great experience with his healing capabilities while at a yoga retreat in Sedona earlier this fall. So here we've got Daniel Posney. In Anum Kara, which is a soul friend or spiritual guide, Daniel guides others in releasing subconscious beliefs and programs that perpetuate personal suffering. Sound healing and cathartic breathwork are used to open the door. He's a sensitive empath hosting retreats that include purification sweat, wolf experience, equine therapy, deep discovery, and I highly recommend seeking him out next time you're in Sedona. Another day, another episode in the sauna. I'm super grateful for this opportunity to sit here with Daniel. And what's your last name, Daniel?
Posney.
Posney.
Yeah.
All right, I was going to take a shot at it, but I just figured I'd ask.
Even if you get it wrong, it's okay.
So I sometimes I like to just take a stab and see if I'm right, but pleasure to meet you, Daniel Posney.
Yeah.
We have a unique way of connecting. First and foremost, my wife Melissa was out here, and I think it was October, for a yoga retreat that was very transformative for her. And one of the experiences she had during her retreat was with you. And would you mind telling our guests what service you provided during that time, and then I'll continue on with our connection.
I think we probably start out with some kind of a discovery with every person. So I just check in with them and find out, what's going on with them. What are you looking to let go of, or what do you want to activate? And usually by talking to someone, you can kind of feel the energy of what words they use and how they talk about themselves and how they talk about the world. And there's an energy that kind of comes out that it's so clear to me when I feel it, because I feel it in myself.
Yeah.
And then from that, you kind of, okay, what kind of things do you have in your body that are related to that? Because what I understand is that every pain, every illness has an emotional cause. So we start to open that up. And then we go into, I think we went into breath work and sound healing, which is such a powerful combination. The breath work that I've been doing for about 20 years is this transformational, cathartic, intensive, whatever you want to call it, where you're breathing very intensely for a long time, and you get yourself into an altered state of consciousness, and it allows your body to kind of get what I would call a new reference point. And so imagine if I could take out what they call the egoic mind, where all your problems reside, your fear and your worry and your blame and shame and all that, pull that out of your body, you'd be a renewed being.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what people have the experience of. And then we've got 14 crystal bowls and a dozen Tibetan bowls and 4 gongs and half a dozen didgeridoos that I make and play. And, it's like the perfect place for transformation and healing, and maybe that's what she was talking about.
Yeah, no, that's why I wanted you to describe it, because you were going to do a much better job than the secondhand information that I got, which was good enough for me to reach out to you and schedule this podcast. And we were supposed to do this a few days ago, but I got hung up coming out of Phoenix after filming with Tom Seeger. We had to reschedule, and you've got a lot going on, especially on the weekend, and we arrived on the weekend because that's a prime time retreat time where everybody's,
and
trying to heal.
They want it right now.
Yeah. So we were able to reschedule, and I'm grateful for that. But we still hadn't met until this moment. Or did we? So we were hiking, Isha and I were hiking Dome Mountain yesterday, and we were on our ascent when I saw a wonderful gentleman coming towards me with a large didgeridoo, and I asked, were you playing that up on top of the mountain? And you said, yeah. And then you asked, would you like me to play for you a little bit right now? And I was like, yeah. And I was able to get it on film, and it was just a beautiful start to this hike that just kept getting better and better as we walked around the top. This is awesome. So we met yesterday on a hike, randomly, had no idea who each other were. And then today when you arrived, you asked, hey,
haven't I seen you?
And I didn't know where this could have been because I have a familiar face, and people will ask me, hey, have I seen you this, or did you do this there? So I was anticipating something where it was going to be like, nope, that wasn't me.
Yeah.
But then you said Doe Mountain, and then I looked in your eyes, and that was pretty beautiful.
So trippy about that is I wasn't supposed to do that hike that day. I was supposed to have a client that I was going to take her somewhere else, and she had body problems and a lot of stuff going on. So she actually ended up canceling the hike. And so I was left with 3-4 hours to do whatever I wanted to do. And that was my favorite place to go. So I was like, I want to go to Doe Mesa. Don't know why, but
yeah. Oh my gosh. So that's great. And now we have this shared connection beyond that. So
yeah.
And I think we might pull out the didgeridoo a little bit later.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I'm excited.
And you know what? The way that you responded is the way that I love how people respond. But not everybody does that. I check in with them, and if they're inquisitive like you are, and you got a bright face on you, then I'll go into that. But some people are like, oh no, I've got Jesus Christ, or whatever they say.
Yeah.
And I pull back. All right, not for you.
Yeah.
But most people, it elevates their whole experience of wherever they're at.
Yeah. Sound is magic, and it's healing, and it's powerful. And when it comes to healing comes usually after pain. And what does pain, like, what is your relationship with pain? Like, did you have a first experience where you recognized it, or was it something that came along gradually later in life where you just picked up on it naturally?
Okay, I'm gonna go back there now.
Beautiful.
To me it's all emotional pain. And the research that I've done just keeps on pointing to these scientists, these researchers and doctors, like Dr. Gabor Mate is one that really is a proponent of this. Yvette Rose, Louise Hay, Dr. Joe Dispenza, all these people are pointing to that it's more about our soul's evolution and the emotional experience that we're having as opposed to the physical. And so here's the way that I'd explain it. I had this job a long time ago when I was in sales. It was one of these sales jobs that it was like, get on the phone, do your work. If you can't do it, I'll get someone else to take your place. So needless to say, I didn't feel much support in that job. It was just, here's your black phone. And somehow I was successful in that job, but I was moving from one cubicle to a bigger cubicle. It was really huge to get that. And so I didn't think that I was going to be able to get support to help me to move my cubicle. And so I moved it myself, and I lifted the cubicle table like that, and I injured my back, which to this day I still pay for every couple of years. The lower back is all about feeling supported. And it's like anytime that I don't feel supported, that lower back shows up again. So yeah, I did something physical that caused that pain, but I also didn't feel supported, which is what caused me to do that thing. So it's anytime that I've had a physical pain, yeah, there's a physical thing that I've done, but it really kind of serves me to look into that and say, okay, my body is a reflection of my emotional state. What is it reflecting to me right now?
Wow. I've experienced the same exact thing. Last year I had a knee injury playing hockey, and it hurt initially, got a little bit better, and then it got worse, and then it started manifesting in my whole entire body.
Wow.
And I was going through just some challenges in life at the time outside of the physical side of things, and I think it was my body telling me, hey, you need to correct what's going on outside, because I'm sounding the alarm on the inside, and you can't keep pushing in this direction. You have to figure something out. And that really began this process of, I need to really take the reins back. And this is after I released a book about pain management. So I released this book, I start this podcast, and then I just get in this fit of pain. So I feel like it was serendipitous to go through that experience, just to remind me of, you have to constantly be proactive with your maintenance. And our society is reactive. And we need to react to pain, but we also need to take these practices and make them a part of our everyday or every week experiences.
I think what you're talking about is, at least the way that I relate to it, is that it's releasing the energy, the stuck energy in my body. And I found that there's a book called The Pathwork of Self-Transformation. And one of the things that they talk in there, and I see this in my practice, is that we'll get one of several different episodes in our life. Life-threatening illness, an accident, a betrayal or a divorce, or a death in the family. And that's like the big hammer upside the head. If we don't get those little flicks, like that release of energy in our body that pertains to what we're going through, we'll get a whack upside the head.
Yeah.
And like, why is this happening to me? And some people get multiple all at the same time, but it all tends to be this catalyst to stop my life, redirect the direction that I'm leading in my life, or at least reevaluate what's going on and maybe shift something over here.
Yeah. It's been a constant theme in the last few podcast conversations, but pain is information.
Yeah.
And the information comes in all different ways, shapes, and forms, just like how it does in our regular life. And we need to be present with ourselves to understand what the message is. And the message, or the way to respond to that, isn't through the traditional medicine that we have been exposed to, or we're exposed
that
to.
suppresses the symptom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It numbs it, and it blocks that connection that you have to pain.
Yeah.
And then you don't know where it's stemming from, and you don't know how to fix it, and then it just piles on top of each other, one after another.
Right.
And it's hard to retrace. And you might think that something faded away, but it's just covered up by something else.
Exactly. Yeah. I met this guy that I had a session with, and he said he was having trouble with his body pain, but also the emotional pain. And he would just go out in kind of fits of laughter or crying. Mm-hmm. And so he met with a doctor, and the doctor, looking at what's his, well, there's a nerve there, there's a signal that we can just cut off. And I was like, holy shit, man, you're even contemplating cutting off this thing? We're on an emotional planet, you're an emotional being, and this doctor is saying that. So that's kind of, if a doctor is that's his specialty, he's going to promote that. Yeah. But just because he doesn't know the whole thing, like there's something happening behind that.
Yeah, I don't think that they want to know. They might have an idea, but if they were to explore that, then what is their profession at that point? Right?
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I like where this conversation is going. We're heating up, and I think it's time to throw some logs on the fire.
All right.
And really start sweating in the desert.
I'm so excited.
All right. Back after throwing some logs on the fire at our dispersed campsite that we've been enjoying for the past 3.5 days. Do you sauna much? Have you had wood fire sauna experience?
Well, I was going to say no, but you just reminded me that so my wife and I moved out of Sedona about a couple of years ago, and we live in this small town called Cornville, and it's only got 3,000 people in it. But we manifested this property where the guy that was the caretaker is a chief in the Native American Sundance ceremony. And so he carved out a sweat lodge right out of the mountain that our house sits on.
Oh.
So when I smelled this wood and everything burning like this, it just reminded me of being in the sweat lodge.
That is cool. I'm glad that the fire could trigger a memory like that.
Yeah, it's a really good memory. It's like being in the womb.
I love that. So how did you get into the work that you do here in Sedona?
Okay, here we go.
I'm ready for it.
Ready for the journey?
Yeah.
I'm an identical twin, and I'm the sensitive empathic one.
Okay.
And I learned from an early age that people could get at me if they teased me about my emotions and stuff. So I learned how to suppress it. And then our dad was killed in a car accident when we were 12, and I learned how to really put a mask on of don't fuck with me, kind of hardness. And I just lived that way for a long time. And I was living in Santa Barbara, and on the outside, making lots of money, playing beach volleyball, second degree black belt, triathlons, surfing, and lots of drinking. So that was all these distractions until I got to this place where I went through a divorce, my kids didn't want to be around me, and I just fell into depression. And I just started having suicidal thoughts. And that caused me to get so, when you're a capable person, you think that you can just make it work and you can push through, which is what I did. And I just decided that I can't push through anymore. Someone's going to have to show me. And so I got to that place of complete surrender. And it's like my life just completely opened up. Like I was holding on to a rocket ship. And I was starting to look into powwows and sweat lodges and ceremonies and plant ceremonies, and just everything was just feeding into me. And I just felt so alive and so passionate about life again. I started to see like a light at the end of the tunnel. And I met this woman that was very, I would call her woo-woo spiritual. But I was getting laid, and so I was listening to some of the things that she was saying. But even though I was kind of rolling my eyes about what she was talking about, energy and consciousness and all that, but I was learning something. And one of the first things that really kicked into me, that made me really, sit up and take notice, is that after we got into our first argument, she said, "Well, Daniel, what I realize is that when you're pissed at me, it's your shit to look at." And that pissed me off, but it also got me thinking, that feels like true. It feels like there's something to that. And that was the thing that started to make me look back at myself and say, all right, all this, I had so much insecurity, man. I was so manipulative and insecure. And if someone doesn't like being controlled, then they also don't want to be controlled by their own mind. And that's where I was at. If it's my own mind, I'm going to look into that. I'm going to look straight into it. And so, because I've kind of been a rebel all my life, that was me being a rebel. Like, even if it's me, I'm going to find out what's in me that's causing all my suffering.
Yeah.
And there's also a Native American term called heyoka. I get emotional talking about it. I get emotional when that comes up. That I am a heyoka, or a trickster, or a coyote. And so I come in from the side, and there's this radical perspective that I want to grab onto. And that's kind of where I was headed in my life, is just going as radical truth as I could uncover. And that's what led me to that. And the more that I found out about myself, the more I had to offer somebody when they came and asked me, hey, you've changed, what's the change? And then I would offer something that I had embodied. So I never offered anything that I hadn't fully embodied. But then over the years, I just found myself jumping off a higher diving board than I was before, until I'm on this diving board.
Yeah. So how long has it been?
25 years.
That's incredible.
Holy shit.
Wow. Good for you. Is there a situation that sticks out as one of the most memorable healing experiences that you were able to provide, or maybe the first one?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so here it is. So I was living in a community called SRF, or Self-Realization Fellowship. So the guru of that community is this guy, Paramahansa Yogananda. I didn't know anything about him before I came there, but I ended up living in this community, this 4,000 acre property north of Santa Barbara, in a little tiny home, like not too much bigger than this. And I got to a place where I was starting to look into myself and uncover all these things about myself. And somebody said, hey Daniel, I think you'd really like this movie called Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon. And it was about St. Francis. But I hadn't had a very religious upbringing, but I always had this connection with this guy, St. Francis. So I was like, yeah, whatever. And I finally got the movie and I started to watch it. And it was a 70s movie with terrible editing. The sound sucked, but the story, again, I think about his story, and he goes to the Christian Crusades and he gets traumatized. He comes back, he has a spiritual awakening. His father beats the crap out of him because he wants him to follow in his footsteps, but he just wants to serve God. And there's a scene in there. Francis is being dragged through the streets, and his father and his mother are looking at him. And he said, what's your problem? And Francis says, my parents anymore. I have a new mother and a new father now. And in front of the whole town, he takes off all of his clothes. And I was just left in the scene of that movie, just all that, that stuffed emotion that was so pushed down, it was all starting to come up. And then there's another scene where he walks from Assisi to the Vatican to get an audience with the Pope. And the Pope comes off of his throne to talk to this guy, this friar in a brown robe and dirty feet. He ends up looking at him and saying, you shame us here because we started out like you. Look what we've become. We've become a business. And then the Pope gets on his knees and he kisses his feet. I just about blew up with emotion, but I made it to the end of the movie. I put everything away. I locked the door of the lodge that I had been in. I went outside. It's dark outside, 13 miles from town. And I fell to my knees and I just started wailing and wailing and wailing and wailing, and I couldn't stop. Finally, 45 minutes went by and I had no energy in me to cry anymore. So I asked myself, what is that about me not grieving my father's death or what? And what I found out was it was something deeper that I feel like a lot of us go through, is that something happens to us. Our mind gives a certain reaction to us and it says, this is what this means about you. And it puts on this new identity. And what I did is I put on that mask. And I had realized in that moment that I've never known what life was about. I'd never known what love really was because I'd always been looking through the mask. In that moment, I removed the mask and allowed myself to be who I am. That's the most amazing thing that happened that first started the whole thing.
I love that. I love your stories about you. You know, that is a powerful experience and one that would really motivate you to, or someone, myself, you know, to do what they're doing. You know, I've had similar experience that propelled me into this role that I feel, you know, is my purpose, right?
Yeah.
So.
And did you see it like as a negative thing at first and then it shifted, or does it just kind of an epiphany?
Yeah. You know, the experiences that I went through created this identity that I couldn't remove myself from. And I allowed myself to take that identity on for such a long time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until, you know, Melissa even said one time, it's like, it wasn't exactly change your relationship with pain. She'd probably be able to quote that better, but it was something along the lines of, you know, stop thinking that you're always in pain. And I was just under this belief that that's who it was, that's, you know, I didn't know why. There was emotional side of it, there was the physical side of it.
Yeah.
And then when I just decided that, no, I'm not going to be this person that is going to live in pain anymore. And that it just wasn't like a light switch. I wasn't just better.
I've made the decision.
It was a lot of work, you know, years worth of work, still doing work.
Yeah.
Right? We're doing work right now.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we're killing two birds
We're
with
sweating our asses off.
Yeah, killing two birds with one stone. So, yeah, I mean, and from my ability to heal myself through wonderful connections, friends, and family, I've experienced a lifetime of pain that I now want to use as a force to prevent people from experiencing that pain.
Yeah.
So we're just two dudes in a sauna with a similar story, but a different
details.
Yeah. What's your favorite practice that you like to provide for people? You know, you said sound healing. You said you kind of read energies.
Yeah. My thing is that I like to help people shift their perspective. Even with, like, here's an example. If someone is religious, I love working with religious people because I want them to expand their idea of God. So I go in there kind of radically about what their idea is. So when someone talks about, like, if I were to meet someone that had a lot of pain in their life, and a lot of broken bones and stuff like that, the question would be, is there anything inside of you that feels like you need to be punished? So I kind of come in from this other angle of saying, okay, physical things have happened to me, but is there something that you can relate to? And then so we just kind of shine the light of loving awareness on it, and that kind of softens the whole thing. And then I love using breath work because breath work just takes you into that moment of clarity, if done properly, into this altered state. You know, tap that into with sound healing with the vibration of didgeridoo and crystal bowls and gongs, and then your mind is completely not in it, and you get to get like a new, what I said, like a new reference point.
Yeah.
There's something that you know, heard that name?
Yeah.
So what he promotes is the mind likes the known past put into the predictable future. And so we keep this loop of our life. This is the shit that keeps on happening to me. But what he's saying and what I'm doing is that we're stopping that loop somehow. Whether you jump in a creek of cold water, or you do breath work or sound healing, something that breaks that loop to get into different, where they call it neuroplasticity.
Yeah. Wow. So you said you started in Santa Barbara, which is a pretty healing place in its own right.
And that's where all this shit happened to me too. That's where everything came down. Yeah.
Wow. So what brought you to Sedona, and how, tell everyone what Sedona means, why it is this place.
Okay, so here's this story.
I love it.
I love it too.
You're great.
So when I lived in that community, I found breathwork, and I went back to the community and I said, hey, we're all about self-realization. Have you ever tried breathwork? And they said no, and we never will, because our teacher didn't do breathwork. We don't do breathwork. So I'm left with this decision of staying in this amazing 4,000 acre community or leaving. So I ended up having what Native Americans call a wopila, or a giveaway. And I gave away all my possessions, all my tools, all my motorcycle stuff, all my computer stuff. I just laid it out. And I got this crazy idea of going on a 2,000-mile bicycle ride down the Pacific coast. So I took a train from Santa Barbara to Olympia, Washington, where my mom lived. I went to Oregon, found myself looking at a hybrid mountain bike and a trailer and a book that had all the campsites along the Pacific coast. And not even thinking about the logistics or didn't make any sense. I would just, yes. And so I just found myself riding down the coast, which I took a side trip to ranch, which is this ranch that James Gilliland has been watching UFOs and having experiences with UFOs. Went back to the coast, rode all the way down, and I had a didgeridoo strapped to my trailer the whole time. So every night I would play the didgeridoo. And when I got back to California, I made a prayer and I said, I really want to meet a master player so they can teach me how to play for healing. Within 3 days, I met this guy, Rafael Bejarano, and he was a master player and a shaman and a mystic. And so he taught me how to play for healing. Then I met this medicine woman who initiated me in something called the 9 rites of, and it's called the healer's journey. So it's kind of ritual rites and energetic rites, but then after around the 3rd rite, you start looking at your shit and you start looking at your shadows. She got a job offer as a psychic in this town called Sedona. And so I came out to visit her. And when I first looked at what was going on in Sedona, I wanted to know scientifically, realistically what's happening there, because everybody talks about the vortexes. So I found the U.S. Geological Society website, and they have mapped out all of the electromagnetic anomalies across the United States, which is vortex energy. And so what do? I zoom in on the map of Arizona, and I zoom in on Sedona, and what you expect to see is, so everything's color-coded, pink and white being the highest. What you expect to see is this rock and that rock and that rock are vortex locations. That's not what it is. The whole thing, you see this big white egg on the map, and Sedona is inside of that.
Wow.
So it goes out 20 miles. We're in the vortex right now.
I could feel it as soon as we arrived.
Right?
As soon as we settled into this landscape around here, and with the flashes at night that I perceived as vortex energy just speaking to me.
Yeah.
So I can, wow, yeah. It's really cool to go to those spots.
Right.
We spent time at the Subway Cave. We spent time at Bell Rock, taking it in.
Yeah.
Bell Rock was really special today because there was this, as soon as you got to that southwest side where there's supposedly the most vortex energy, the wind picked up and it was just blowing right in my face, and it was special.
That is no small thing. Every time I do breath work out on the land and someone's going through an emotional thing, the wind picks up.
Wow. And it's not even a windy day today.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated that moment, and just being able to sit there and breathe, be present, and share my appreciation for this road trip that I've been able to go on. Sounds very similar to your took
It
you just
is.
described.
It is.
Right? There wasn't a plan. There was a flowy, somewhat structured concept that
Yeah.
came together on the fly and allowed me to really tap into who I am and the creativity inside of me so that I could unlock the next door, right?
Yeah.
And I unlocked that next door. I'm feeling so good
Right
about
on.
what we've been able to accomplish on this journey here. And I say we with Isha because I'm not just doing this solo.
Yeah.
So it's been, a life affirming experience for me.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And Sedona's the perfect capper.
Oh my gosh, you just plopped yourself in I've been all around the world. I was in the Navy in the 80s and I did a lot of traveling, but I've never been to a place that is so perfect for life transformation and healing. I mean, there's crystals in the rocks, there's high iron content in the soil, there's aquifers that hold water, which is a storage of energy. You've got people, being attracted here as teachers, as students, healing. It's just this culmination of energy, and you just manifested yourself being here. And it blows my mind that there's something going on in your heart that it wants you to just keep on opening it up. And you're just here completely embracing all of it.
Yeah, I'm feeling all the feels, and it's come to Sedona for some healing and transformative experiences.
Right.
It might not be instantaneous, but you got to come and just be open to feeling, and that starts with these exercises like breath work and sound healing and didgeridoo.
Yeah.
Would you mind playing some
Not at
didgeridoo
all.
for us?
The only thing I'm thinking about is so hot in here. The wax. No, it feels good. I can do
right.
it. Yeah.
We're gonna didgeridoo it then.
So this is made from agave, and what I do is I wait for the agave to die, and then you can harvest it. This is one I made about 10 years ago. It's kind of in the reconstruction phase, but this one has been involved with so many ceremonies, so many healings. One of the things that I used to do is work with cancer patients at an alternative healing place in Sedona called the Lodge at Sedona. And I would provide emotional counseling, but I'd always bring in didgeridoo to play to their body. Do you mind if I play to your body?
I would be honored.
So I'm gonna try not to touch you because that end is hot.
That's great.
Yeah.
I've never had that. I've never experienced that before. I've never heard the didgeridoo, but I've never felt the didgeridoo. So that was great. Thank you so much. Oh man. I'm just gonna sit with that for a second.
Yeah,
Right?
Let that sink in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, we don't have a cold plunge here, but before we wrap up, should we go just soak in some Sedona sunshine and
sounds great.
we'll come sit back on the bench here for the final little curtain call?
That sounds great.
All right, let's do it. Wasn't a cold plunge, but it was a glorious sunbathe.
I was a little chilly.
The breeze was the vortex breeze picked up again for us and cooled us down.
Yeah.
It did feel really nice out there.
Yeah.
I saw that it was going to get 97 next week.
Wow. That's
Does it get that hot around here
It
typically?
gets 105 is about as high as I've seen it, but there's no humidity in the air, so it's not as bad as it sounds.
Yeah, it's comfortable.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we got the temperatures that we did. We had mid-50s for the first couple hikes, and then 75, 72. So you were out there yesterday.
Yeah,
how
it was
glorious
great.
It was.
Man. Beautiful day today.
So if someone wants to come to Sedona and experience all that you have to offer, how do they find you and get you on the books?
I'm glad you asked. If they go to ultimatepotentialcoach.com, they'll find me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you have an Instagram at all, or is it just website?
I do. It's Ultimate Potential Coach.
Okay.
I mean, also if you just search on Daniel of Sedona, which is kind of an inside joke, you'll find me out there.
I like that. The Daniel.
That's right.
The
Daniel
Daniel.
of Sedona. I think there's two of us. But you'll find
Nice.
me.
Hopefully you're good proxies for one another if the if the other one's chosen.
Right.
So if you say you're booked and you can't get the Daniel experience, what do you have any other recommendations for how someone would find the right practitioner or the right practice to experience? Because Sedona is an incredibly healing place, but just because you're doing something doesn't mean that it's necessarily the best. And you want to have people experience the best, and you also want others to elevate what they can do to help others. So if there's a resource out there aside from just talking to you and getting that information firsthand, where might one find that?
Okay, there's a couple different things I was thinking about. I could just name names too, but my friend has a magazine called Spirit of Sedona. His name is Kaz Mraz. Hey, Kaz.
What up, Kaz?
And he is the magazine for the whole place, and for restaurants and for spiritual stuff and everything. So look in that magazine and see who's got an advertise in that. The other thing what you can do is you can go to these websites of retreat centers in town. Gateway Wellness Center is a really good one. Spirit Quest Personal Retreats is a really good one. There's another one called Sedona Soul Adventures. And if they've got the bios of the practitioners, and a lot of them will just have their first name, if you can look that up and do a little detective work, sorry, retreat centers, but that's what people do, find out if those people are working for a retreat center, that means they're not full of shit. And it means that they've continued to offer something that's really profound. And then they're just not doing some kind of fluff. And to be honest, I don't see too much of that fluff or that like charlatan stuff going on, but it is there sometimes. But the people that have been doing it for a while and have, just in it, they're really good at what they do, and that's why they're here.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why I'm here, is to experience it all. And the unexpected experience of the didgeridoo was really meaningful and powerful to me, and can't thank you enough for that. I got a little taste of it yesterday too, so thank you again for that. But most importantly, thank you for taking the time to sit on the bench with me in the desert of magical Sedona, talking about pain, talking about healing, bringing up some old trauma that you've had to work through, but can now speak about it because you've been able to work through it. Yeah. And if you're trying to work through something, Daniel's your man out here in Sedona. Or just continue to follow along with all the episodes that we have here, because I'm trying to provide the roadmap for you. There's not one right thing to do. Yeah. We're not. You and I are two different people. The same thing might not have the same effect for us, but there's a combination of modalities out there for you, and we're here to provide it for you, right?
I really appreciate what you're doing. I really appreciate that you're offering a resource. Sometimes when you're in pain, you're in so much pain that you can't even get out of it to go look. So the fact that you're offering this service in your book and your website, really, thank you.
Oh, well, the feeling is mutual, Daniel. So thanks again. I look forward to my next time in Sedona, where I will get to experience something from you, and we'll probably do a little film for that as well, so you can see what's going on. But until then, we'll see you next time. Stay sweaty out there.